All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the March 13th, 2019 meeting of the Cass Clay Food Commission. It's our 24th meeting already. You should have in front of you a revised agenda, the one that was sent out earlier this week. There's been a couple of adjustments to that agenda, so particularly item number 6 prior has been changed. So I guess I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda, the revised agenda as presented, and/or if there's any other additions or corrections or deletions.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 1B is the review and action on the minutes. You should have received them in prior to the meeting. You should have them in your packet as well. So whenever you're comfortable, I'll entertain a motion to that unless there's changes you'd like to recommend.
I did note one correction to be made. Whoa.
Okay.
So Jeremiah is here today, but I noticed that he was marked as present at the last meeting, and I believe you were not here, correct? Okay.
Okay.
So that would be my only amendment.
Okay, we have one correction as noted. Any other comments?
So I'd move approval with the proposed amendment.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jim. Okay, we have a motion to approve as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, we'll have our commission check-in. Basically, what we do is go around the commission side up here, and if you have anything you'd like to speak on, you may. You don't have to, but we'll start down here with Jim and see if he has
Jim
anything
Ossis,
to...
Delaware City Council.
Bukola, at-large member, PhD student from NDSU. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared for that.
Chelsea Johnson from Horace City Council. Nothing new, but I've been working on events for the city a little bit more in depth, and if anybody out there knows somebody that puts on the events in other towns that would be interested in doing something out in Horace, I'd love to hear from them.
Nancy Careview, at-large member, Dilworth citizen, but employee of Great Plains Food Bank. Specific updates for our organization, I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, but I will say that we have our Cass Clay Hunger Coalition that meets the first Tuesdays of every month at Cass Public Health. And so we invite people to, encourage people to come to those. Even if you haven't been one in the past, we still would love to have more members that are joining us in some of the work we're doing to get that built back up again.
Well, good morning again, everyone. I'm Mike Thorsted, West Fargo City Commissioner and chairperson of this particular commission. I have nothing to add at this point.
Vern Bennett, Cass County Commission.
Jeremiah Utek, co-owner of Off the Deck Hot Sauce and Flannel Fizz. I've never done this before, so I have no updates.
Doing great. Sarah Watson Curry with the Moorhead City Council. And just one food-related announcement would be the Red River Market is hosting a spring event at the the Moorhead Center Mall on March 30th. So bring a shovel or a bag to bring home some new off-the-deck hot sauce.
Good. And our, I won't say assistants, they're the ones that run everything, our steering committee that's sitting over on the side there. Is there anyone that has anything you'd like to add at this point? If so, you have to step up to the podium and speak. We got Noelle.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Noelle Hardin with University of Minnesota Extension. And I have kind of a personal announcement. The next Heart and Soul Pay What You Can Community Cafe is in a couple of weeks on Sunday, March 24th at Square One Kitchens, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I will be the chef this time. So I'm going to be doing a menu that features some local foods that can be stored through the winter. So a wild rice salad, a vegetarian soup, and a couple other items, some fermented vegetables. And I also will be trying to do a minimal waste meal as well. So I hope that some of you will be able to join us on Sunday, March 24th. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tim Hiller from Concordia College. Concordia, in 2017, President Kraft signed an agreement with the Integrated Climate Commitment, which was a commitment to reduce carbon emissions and also form a resilience task force. And so Ken Foster and myself have put together a resilience task force in the last few months, including we've had conversations with all the presidents of the colleges, with City Council, with Jonathan Judd, to talk about ways to respond to climate change and also to prepare ourselves to flourish in the midst of the changes that are going forth. The group is in the infancy stages now, but one of the issues we'll be talking about is food and how to prepare for food instability that may result as a result of some of the climate changes that are coming forth. Thanks.
Thank you. And the general public later on in the agenda, there is an opportunity to speak if you'd so like to. We do have a sign-up sheet in the back. We don't do a background check or anything, but we just like to have your name for the record. So if you'd like to speak, that opportunity will come on later on. So, is there any other comments from the steering group? Apparently not. Okay, we'll go on to item number 3, which is a hunger snapshot. And Kim Lapitsky and Anna Marie Kettler are gonna make the presentation.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kim Lepetsky from Fargo-Cass Public Health. And as you recall from our last meeting in January, we had a presentation by the Great Plains Food Bank on the results of the 2018 Hunger in North Dakota survey, which also included Clay County. And they presented some eye-opening data on the issue of hunger and food insecurity in Cass and Clay County. So as follow-up to that presentation, the Cass Clay Food Partners and some of our interns have done some research on what programs and services and interventions we have locally that deal with the issue of hunger and insecurity. So we have pulled together a community snapshot that features some of these initiatives, and the snapshot is in your packet of materials under hunger and food insecurity. And we have a PowerPoint presentation that's going to feature some of the items that are in this particular snapshot. So to present this information today is Anne Marie Kettler, and she is a dietetic intern from Concordia College who is working with Fargo-Cass Public Health. So she's going to go over some of the key points in that snapshot through her PowerPoint.
Thank you. Okay, so as Kim mentioned, I'm a dietetic intern from Concordia College, and I'm going to be providing some information about hunger and food security in this community and focus a little bit more on the programs that are currently being implemented to combat that. So hunger is a physiological discomfort from prolonged involuntary access to food. So everybody here has probably felt hunger at some point, but food insecurity is when access to adequate food is limited by lack of money or other resources. So to better understand this problem, I wanted to put it into perspective with some numbers. So the Great Plains Food Bank indicates that 1 in 9 residents in Cass and Clay counties need food assistance of some sort. So as Kim mentioned, there was a 2018 hunger survey, and the clients that were recognized in that, it was indicated that 37% are children and 77% are seniors. 62% adults and 17% children skip meals regularly. 29% report not eating an entire day in the last month, and 70% have a chronic disease. So clearly this is a prominent issue, and we all know that hunger is a very complex issue as well. So it's important to acknowledge and understand the causes of hunger in Cass and Clay counties, and this includes affordable and available housing, poverty, the presence of any chronic disease or other health condition, any language barriers which may prevent somebody from obtaining adequate food, or just a general lack of access to healthful and affordable foods. So there are federal programs to help alleviate food insecurity, so SNAP, WIC, and the National School Lunch Program. So SNAP stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and this provides monetary benefits and education to low-income individuals to purchase healthful foods. And as you see indicated here, over 18,000 individuals in Cass and Clay participate in that for the latest data of 2018. And then WIC stands for Women, Infants, and Children, and this provides benefits in the form of vouchers to purchase food, and women, pregnant or nursing women and infants and children up to age 5 can qualify for that. And then finally, this National School Lunch Program aims to provide free and reduced price breakfast and lunch to eligible students,
And as you can see, broken down by school district, at least a quarter of the student body of each school district around these areas utilize that program, so it's very important. So food banks, pantries, and donations offer immediate food assistance to those in need. So the Great Plains Food Bank distributes large amounts of food to local food pantries and other food distribution programs. So the backpack program supplies food to children to assist with providing meals over the weekend when those students wouldn't be in school. The school pantry program provides food to children and families in convenient and familiar locations, such as at school. And the youth summer meals program is meant to provide food to children in summer months who receive the reduced and free lunch program so that they are fed throughout the summer as well. And then finally, the Farm to Food Shelf program provides locations and reimbursement to farmers to donate produce that would otherwise go to waste and get it to those who could use it. So there are also listings of local feeding networks. For example, the Great Plains Food Bank website provides a listing of pantries and soup kitchens that can be found within the area for those people who might utilize it. And donation and food recovery efforts are also being implemented, such as Glean ND, which works with volunteers and local growers to capture excess produce that might otherwise go to waste. And Veggies for the Pantry includes excess produce from the gardens of community members to go to those who might need it. So there are also numerous local programs, such as farmers markets, which allow people to purchase local foods from local farmers. And it is you are able to use SNAP benefits at farmers markets, which brings me into the next point of Double Up Food Bucks, which allows SNAP recipients to double their purchasing power up to $10 at the farmers markets. So the Heart and Soul Cafe, which Noel had mentioned, is a cafe which all are welcome, but operates under a pay what you can model. And the next event will be on March 24th, so I encourage everybody to attend or volunteer if you would like to. And then the community gardens offer the opportunity to rent individual plots or allow community members to come together in a communal garden to cultivate the produce from that. Next, Little Free Gardens is a garden program which is planted in accessible areas such as somebody's front yard. They are maintained by the owner, but intended to share with anyone who might need it in the community. And similar to that, the Orchard Projects allows access to locally grown food from plants and trees of privately owned properties. So there are also local organizations which are working to alleviate food insecurity in the community. So the Cass Clay Food Partners work to increase access to safe, nutritious, affordable, and culturally based food for residents through policy, intervention, programs, and events. So there are three main branches of the Food Partners, and I'm going to start with the steering committee at the bottom and work my way up. So this consists of key government organizations, food system experts, to provide direction and organization to Cass Clay Food Partners as a whole. So then next, the Food Commission advises policymakers and elected officials in Cass Clay to support their mission. And the Food Action Network facilitates connections and partners within the community to increase access to safe, nutritious, and affordable food. So the Cass Clay Hunger Coalition is a newly formed group of members from community organizations, various emergency feeding networks, and anyone who is interested within the community to participate. And they work to find methods to fight hunger and food insecurity. And this is open to the public, and they meet on the first Tuesdays of the month at 8:30. And then finally, the Prairie Roots Community Fund is a social justice outreach program which provides nutrition interventions in the form of food deserts, such as education or organizing community gardens to increase access to food. There are also various efforts being done in the healthcare setting, such as food insecurity screenings at Essentia in the form of a survey which aims to identify food insecure individuals and gain them resources which can help. And then also Sanford provides food baskets for new moms, which are intended to provide enough food and feed an entire family for a day. Plus, this provides an incentive for these mothers to come to their doctor's appointments as they are receiving the food basket. So this is a lot of information, so you might be wondering, what can I do? So the first thing that you can do, a great place to start, is just to volunteer your time and talent. So this could be with the Great Plains Food Bank, Glean ND, the local food pantry, or at a community garden. And then also donating food, help keep those stocks in the food pantries up, decreasing your food waste, and also just starting conversations and educating yourself and others about the issues within the community and how we can help alleviate food insecurity and hunger. And then finally, joining the local Hunger Coalition. As I mentioned, they meet on the first Tuesdays of the month, and the next meeting will be April 2nd at Fargo-Cass Public Health. Thank you. And then all this information is in your packet, as Kim mentioned.
Good, thank you. Are there any questions for Anne Marie or Kim? I guess Kim didn't do much presenting, but we can ask her questions anyway.
I have a question.
Vern?
It indicates that 70% of participants have a chronic disease. I have two questions. One, what are these chronic diseases? And two, how much do you think these chronic diseases have an effect on the percentages of food insecurity that you have?
Nancy might be able to answer that a little bit better since she's with the Great Plains Food Bank.
So when we did our study, our hunger study, we looked at directly what those chronic diseases were, and we feel that even though it said what the percentage are, that they're also probably underrepresented because a lot of what came up was mental health and addiction, diabetes, obesity, and we know that there was definitely some underreporting in who was actually claiming to have some of these chronic diseases. Heart disease was another one that came up. And so when we're talking about food insecurity, a lot of it comes into play with that is access to the foods that they need to support those diets. We know as being the Great Plains Food Bank and being a part of getting food out to people for 36 years that the food we've provided over the years hasn't always been friendly to a diabetic diet or if they have other diet restrictions that they need. And so we're, as an organization, looking at that really closely and how we can be a part of the solution in that and working with our partners in food pantries, but it definitely has a huge role that it plays because of access to that food that they need. And then they're also facing so many other challenges, if that's medical challenges that they have with their medical bills, accessing their care, getting to their appointments, and all of that is just in a big circle effect of affecting each other.
You know, some of these chronic diseases automatically result in skipping meals or food for a whole day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments?
Thank you. Great job presenting, Anne-Marie. A couple of questions. This presentation, I know when Melissa presented at our last meeting, a big takeaway was sharing the information of the hunger study or what was the formal study?
Hunger in North Dakota.
Hunger in North Dakota. And so there you could hammer into some of the details in Cass and Clay County specifically. So you're presenting this to us today. Is there any other organizations or groups? That was one takeaway we had. I know I shared the report with our council as well. So my question is, are there other groups that you're presenting this particular presentation to, or is it just recapping for our commission?
It was just to kind of recap for the commission, but we're sure open to presenting anywhere. And I would imagine that Great Plains Food Bank too, and Melissa Sobolek would be interested in presenting to any other commissions or groups that would be interested to hear the data, because I think it's great information.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Anne-Marie, you did a great job of doing an all-encompassing of what's going on. You know, it's not just the work that's being done through the food banks and the food pantries, but so many other organizations and groups that are working together to help with this. So you did a great job encapsulating all of that. But for us, as far as Hunger in North Dakota or anything hunger related, the Great Plains Food Bank is happy to present on that, as well as the commission, as a commission member too. So I think it's important to get that information out to more people and always be spreading that. Even if we think people might know, it's good to hear it again or get it to a different audience.
Okay. So just to follow up on that idea of presenting to people, I also want to say that, is there a way you are also looking at other groups that may be smaller than what you have presented today that may be working towards access to healthy foods? What are you trying to bring those groups onto the table and have them participate in a larger audience, with a larger audience? So that's my question.
I would say if you're talking about bringing people together to network, to become part of the Hunger Coalition, we're trying to get that reorganized. And we've got some really good representation on that group, but we are open to anybody and everybody. So Right now, that group is trying to take a look at what is our vision, what is our mission, and kind of come up with a plan on where we want to go as a community in Cass and Clay County to deal with these issues. So anybody who's interested in that, we would love to have you become a part of that. Our next meeting was April 2nd, I believe, and then in May is when we're going to be doing a larger planning meeting to kind of take a look at what our strategies are going to be moving forward to address the issues.
So the reason I said that is that I know some new Americans that are partnering within just themselves and are growing foods together. So I was just thinking, how could we reach those group? How could we bring them on and support them, you know? So that's where that question
We'd love
came
to have them part of the Hunger Coalition.
Yeah, I will reach out to some of them and let them know and get them there.
That would be great.
All right.
Good. Any additional comments, questions? Yes.
Sorry, I did have one more comment. So one, just as we're looking at this report, there's obviously a lot of partners who are working at addressing these issues. And one of the things that I thought was most interesting when Melissa presented was the income disparities. And actually, I think the average on the one pager you can find that it's $12 an hour that they're making. But it was very interesting because in the rural communities, they were actually bringing in a higher hourly wage than in our urban area as well. So I think that's a really important thing. I tried to highlight that with our council, and also letting people know who the faces of homelessness too was very interesting. So if you haven't had a chance to look at the report, even if you just can look at the one-page snapshot, I think that's really telling to remind us that it's, like you said, 1 in 9. So that's your neighbor. There's definitely someone on your block who's struggling with that. But the income piece was really, really interesting. And as we're looking at things upstream, I think that's an important conversation for us to have with our community members as well. So that's all my comments. Thank you.
And I can add to Sarah's, if you're looking to access that report, the Hunger in North Dakota that she's referring to, you can get that right off of our website at greatplains.org. And then we also have paper copies and things like that. If you're looking to send that out to a group or individuals, we can absolutely get those for you. But greatplainsfoodbank.org under Ending Hunger 2.0 is where you'll find that information.
Great. Any additional comments? Thank you. That was a very good report and excellent feedback from the commission as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move up to the next item, which is going to be item number 4, a sustainable food system from soil health to human health. Noel Hardin and, I'm going to try it, Dipayan Sharfar. Did I get close?
You were close.
All right.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
And before I introduce our speaker and jump into the presentation, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge a couple of the transitions that are underway with our group. So first of all, it's wonderful to be in this beautiful new space this morning for the first time. We also have had some changes in the membership of our steering committee, and that produced a couple last-minute changes in our agenda. So you've probably noticed that we do not have copies of the presentations in your packet, but we can make sure that those come out to you via email. And then lastly, we are also transitioning the presentations last time and this morning on hunger are kind of wrapping up our overall theme for the last year, or more like a year and a half, where we've really delved into the topic of healthy food access and what that looks like in our community and what programs are at play to support that. So we will now be transitioning to our next theme, which will be related to sustainable food systems. And this will touch on one of our 5 core values, which is that we believe in a food system that is economically and ecologically resilient. So our next few meetings will be focused kind of more around the topic of sustainability in the food system and all the many layers of that. So with no further ado, I am happy to introduce to you Dr. Dipayan Sharkor. He is a professor and research associate at the Department of Plant Sciences in NDSU. As you can see from his biography and the presentation, he is an expert on plant physiology and has also really looked at the connections with human health. So Dipayan is really the perfect local expert for us to hear from today as we are kind of bridging the topics of human health and food access with the concept of sustainability. So I will help Depayan get his presentation pulled up, and then we will hear from him.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. I want to thank Noel and Dr. Gold Abbey to invite us here to present, and it's a great opportunity. And why sustainability? And I will take from the last presentation, actually, they did a great job to present why is the issue of chronic disease, hunger, food security, all are linked. And that is my topic of today's presentation, how everything is linked and how we can address different challenges and solutions to connect all these dots. So probably these slides will look like to you like a biology 101, but I always want to start from the basis, like the photosynthesis or autotroph, because that is the fundamental of our all food production, or the beginning of the food, that carbon being hydrated as carbohydrate is the first source of food in the earth. And if we understand how the environment, one of the main pillars of sustainability, and then the economy where it comes to food processing, food industry, and the market, and then ultimately the community. So these are the three main pillars of the sustainability or the sustainable agriculture or sustainable food system to all the food security and food nutritional security challenges. And these, if we understand that connection, if we understand that how we can tweak or fine tune each of these elements, then we can really bring forward our solutions to all the challenges we face today. It's obviously easy to say than have the actions and all the different kind of implementation on the ground, but I will slowly bring you to that direction, that how we can address some of the issues and how we can really bring together coalitions or cooperations to develop that. So to just give you an overview why we need sustainability, because sustainable food system or sustainable agriculture is no longer a choice for humanity. It's more of a necessity coming from all the different challenges we face today. One of the big questions we face today is that we need this agriculture or food production to feed the world. It's definitely, in last 40 or 50 years with the Green Revolution and other development in agriculture and big farming, all probably built to support this, the food security issue. But in current condition, we have a capacity in the world to actually produce food for 12 billion people. Currently, we are 7.3 billion. But we have a capacity to produce around 12 billion, to feed 12 billion people worldwide. But then why is the problem? Why is the food security and nutritional security challenges? It comes from many different areas, and hunger is not a simple issue, because still in the world, even today's world, there is 1 billion people every day is hungry. And it's not just the problem in sub-Saharan Africa or Asia or East Asia or part, it's even in the worldwide. If we think about the urban areas, or when we talk here presenting data of Cass and Clay County, in the American reservations, in many areas there is a really have a deficit of the food supply or access to food. But the most important is not just the access to food or the carbohydrate, protein, fat. It's more of a balanced nutrition. That is the key of food security or nutritional security. Even before 10 years or 5 years, if we look into all the United Nations or Food and Agriculture Organization report, they will justify the malnutrition is from the not having access to food. But in last 3-4 years, it's changed a lot, particularly from 2012 onwards. It's more having access to balanced nutrition. So what we mean as a balanced nutrition or access to balanced nutrition. Then this chronic disease, as there was a question and discussion here about the chronic disease. So the chronic disease is also part of this malnutrition. Why? Because the overnutrition or undernutrition comes from the same food insecurity or nutritional insecurity. So if we separate this out, it's not right. It should be bring together because the malnutrition comes from the not having access to balanced nutrition. And the chronic disease development, most of the diet-linked chronic disease development, whether diabetes, cardiovascular disease, which all are linked to metabolic syndrome, is have a common connection. Have a diet, lifestyle, stress, all different issues linked to that, have a lot of linking with this food insecurity and nutrition insecurity, and sustainability can bring that challenges or have in a place to bring some of the solutions to chronic disease challenges. Same with the changing climate, whether it's affect differently in different parts of the world, but it has a significant role in the future to play how we will define food security, or how the food production will shape, how we have create more sustainable practices and more resilient to fight the variation or erratic pattern of climate due to this climate change. And then a big part is the waste, that the perishable, because most of the nutritionally balanced food, whether fruits or vegetables, are highly perishable. So that is a big aspect of that. We lose almost 1.3 billion tons of food every year. This is not counting the waste after we process the food and we are wasting, not eating to like everything and wasting in the garbage. This is even before. So there are a lot of different areas we need to address when we talk about sustainability and food security or food nutritional security. So just to give you an overview why it's important, I told that we have to look back to environment or the basis fundamental of the biology or plant system. But it starts from soil health. And when we talk about this food security or sustainability, we have to understand that it's not just the plant or human or our food chain. There is a big part played by microbiome, the microorganism, present in soil, present in our gut, and in our human gut, this microorganism came through food chain from the plant and soil system. So this is, we have this huge part of this microorganism play critical role to dictate our health, our physical and cognitive health. So if we able to protect the microorganism in the soil, there were studies. If we think about the ecosystem, the native ecosystem, prairie ecosystem of North America or part of this North Dakota, currently there is only 1% of native microorganism present in soil. So we have lost 99% of the microorganism or microbial diversity from our soil, even in this part of the world with the last 150 years or 200 years of agriculture and all activities. So, but we have to understand that is a very critical component of bringing sustainability if we build the soil microbiome, the soil microorganisms, or the diversity of soil microorganisms, because that dictates the fitness, the nutrient mobilization, the productivity of plant, its resilience to climate changes, its overall performance and fitness, and also the nutrient content of any food we harvest from that plant. And then it goes through the food chain, how we able to protect this whole food processing to post-harvest, to build this food cooking, everything bring to our gut, where again this beneficial microorganism play a critical role. Even all the emerging studies suggest, whether it's a diabetes to cardiovascular disease to even dementia to Parkinson to Alzheimer, there are big connections placed by our microorganism and the signaling of the microbial community present in our gut. And food, diet, and lifestyle clearly dictate that population. There are beautiful study actually in Penn State, one by a professor. They have seen once you change the diet, even just 7 days of dietary pattern, your whole microbial population or the composition, the profile will change immediately. So they studied for the people, the African recently migrated from Africa to Eastern, North Carolina, and they also have the Afro-American population settled for a long. So they studied 2 different food systems and have seen very drastic change. And once you bring back their traditional food system or some kind of a balanced nutrition, this beneficial microorganism, they proliferate in our gut. And why this microorganism is critical? It also helps to protect infection, because it takes out the bad bacteria or bad pathogen from our gut and from our human the system, and to help to fight. So one of the most critical part of when we talk about sustainability or all these emerging global challenges, the two key things we have to understand or remember is diversity and resilience. And it's all, both are linked, because diversity brings the resilience. What it means as a diversity, diversity comes from this plant, because we domesticated plant from the wild, different races or the plant system worldwide. All our current food system is from this domestication process of thousands of years. But ultimately the resilience to have this diversity of nutrition, diversity of food crops, it comes from this diversity of crop and their wild species. Even for the resilience, when we have to build a new cultivar or develop a new hybrid for any kind of fitness, for biotic or abiotic stress, to more cold tolerant, we have to look back or go back to this wild species, like the wild species population, the races there. And then you select and you cross and breed. The interesting part here, particularly when you talk about in northern plains, there are many native species here, particularly the berries or the cold hardy berries or cold hardy plants like riverbank grape. Yeah. So currently in the University of Minnesota and other parts in South Dakota, there is a research to bringing cross between this wild river bank grape with the current grape cultivars, because to bring more cold hardiness, bringing more, the healthy part of the components in that grape or in the wine, like resveratrol or other bioactive compounds. And this is unique because we need to understand the diversity from that platform, the diversity and resilience, which bring together all of this availability in our food source, how we can move forward to address the chronic disease challenges, nutritional security challenges, and how to build resilient community, because that's the ultimately goal, because it's food and lifestyle and access or this diversity will also build resilience to the community. So when you talk about community, resilience of community, it comes from this diversity and resilience of our ecosystem or where we live. So that is very critical for the whole thing. Now I will just give you some example from our own research and the research with our collaborators, how these sustainable solutions and part of the sustainable solutions we can address, or we can have innovations to address that. I just divided in two slides. One is the production stage and then the post-harvest stage. So pre-harvest stage and post-harvest stage. And there are many different ways we can address. These are not the all, okay? These are just some example of what I mean. Because when we talk about this improving soil health, and soil and seed is the beginning of any food production. So we have to understand that if we have a better soil, if we have a better seed, which is high seed vigor, better resilience, it will definitely yield into a better plant, and that will give you better food. So we have different strategies how to build this, this beneficial microorganism in soil. There are many different products, but it's not the commercial products, but mostly like natural products. And we can find all these compound or product in a natural ecosystem. There are many compounds that mimic the natural system, and we don't need to rely a lot in this synthetic or chemical, component or fertilizer. There's a big, because you need this food production, you need fertilizer or oil. But there are many products have a similar mechanism or mimicking action from nature that we can see. Like example here is like earthworm, the vermicompost. And we practice in the world in a different times, in different agriculture. There are many different such kind of a strategy. Then obviously improving seed vigor, because once you have some kind of seed priming, there are traditional way of seed priming, there is modern, like a scientific way of seed priming, but all have a similar function, that to improve the seed or improve the germination or the early establishment of plant, or have some nutrient mobilization during this germination, which will help the plants to build fitness and resilience, and also improve their nutrient when you are having this reproductive stage or the grain formation or pod formation. Same thing connected with this abiotic and biotic stress resilience. So like this year, there will be high chance of the maybe flooding or waterlogging in some parts of this Red River Valley. And like beans, we study with dry beans and some of the soybean, corn. We are currently doing the waterlogging stress studies and how you can improve this resilience in plant for waterlogging or salinity or drought is more common in the western North Dakota or other parts of northern plains. So you can actually, if we understand this biochemical regulation or their physiology, we can really improve this fitness and improve the resilience to this biotic and abiotic stress. And these are all connected, this seed vigor, soil health, biotic, abiotic stress resilience, or improving nutrient utilization. They have really connected and can come from the same physiological adjustment of plant and biochemical. I will not go in deep like in the science. There is a strategy or innovation you can have spraying of heat stress, like a mild stress induction during reproductive stage, or ozone, spraying ozone, liquid water, or some kind of natural, this is a chitosan oligosaccharide, which is actually extract of crab cell, which they are called C, is an ascorbic acid based chemical. You can apply them and can divert this photosynthetic carbon flux towards more secondary metabolites, which is bioactives or phenolics or other bioactives, which help plant to higher fitness, better resilience, better nutrient profile, the protective compounds we need for our health to fight chronic diseases. So these are evidence that this compound can help to protect our overall health, microbiome to our chronic disease management. And then obviously there should be a more like a community garden base, like a small scale, but have more sustainable practice to develop this healthy or access to fresh vegetables, to fresh food and more sustainable way of production. The same strategy can be applied in micropropagation or microgreen and sprout, because we no longer have a chance to have expansion of horizontal farming. There will be more future, we have to invest more in vertical farming. So this microgreen and sprouts or the micropropagation is a really good strategy to have a very high nutritionally balanced or nutritionally rich food. You can have a whole production in a very small time frame and with a less amount of resources or inputs. And we currently working on a microgreen and sprout project with North Dakota Specialty Crop to improve that, and using actually lactic acid bacteria, the beneficial microorganism, lactobacillus, which is present in our gut or in our milk or dairy system, to use that to bring this resilience to this microgreen and sprout and have more nutritionally enriched microgreen. Same strategy can be applied to the post-harvest stages. So this is the study we did with apple scald, because browning and formation of scald is a big way of spoilage of food or the perishable foods like fruits. So the above two, we have worked a lot with this anti-browning or finding anti-browning agent or post-harvest preservation to improve. Same strategy, we also use a lot of fermentation or biotransformation of plant substrate to have mobilization of better nutrient. So a lot of this traditional society developed this fermented food worldwide. And this fermented food is also unique because it also helps not only just to build our gut microbiome, but also to counter a lot of this oxidative stress-linked breakdown, which is the common cause of all the chronic diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, even cancer. So this can help the protect, but we need to this optimization. Then we have also now do a lot of screening of the native plants here and the indigenous food system, the traditional crop. So we did a lot of screening with the colored corn, the climbing beans, and different kind of squash. And it's not surprising that many of these food, traditional food, or like the system of Three Sister Garden, have a better nutrient profile, higher amount of nutrient, have a protective compounds like anti-diabetic compound or anti-hypertensive compound like in squash. There is ACE inhibitors which can help you to manage hypertension. So we recently we are currently working with some of these squash and sweet potato cultivars to find this antihypertensive and anti-diabetic profile. And similarly, we can also, the most important for food or nutritional security is the maternal and child nutrition. And that can build even for the local or indigenous community or non-indigenous community, we can build that from a lot of this indigenous food system. And even our traditional food system, a lot of vegetables like kale and other leafy vegetables can bring into that. Even we tried to do a baby food formulation, mixing wild rice with aronia berry and blueberry, which is a really high antioxidant and anti-diabetic profile. So to give you as a overall, so North Dakota and Northern Plains really have the resources or the infrastructure, whether we talk about this big agriculture or the local food system, but it most need to be cooperation and the partnership development. How can we use the advantage of one system to another? So whether it's farmers market to food co-op to community garden or local food industry, we worked last 2 years with Axe Water. This is a local company bringing this beverage from the aronia berry and aronia berry based food, and also the other local communities. But we have to understand that we need, for sustainable solutions, we need to use the strength of all these systems. And we don't know, maybe in the future there are many small-scale agriculture, some of the technology or innovation I talked about can be used even for the big farming or big agriculture, because that's how the resilience or sustainability will be built in the future. So there are mutual complementing things we need to advance for a better sustainable solutions. So just to give you an overview of our institute, so I am the only employee under Dr. Shetty, is the director of Global Institute of Food Security and International Agriculture. And our one of the mission or vision is to actually work on the goals of sustainable food system or sustainable. And there we try to bridge from local growers to community to research innovations, coming into a single platform. And I would like to invite you, we have every year we organize a NDSU annual Food for Health conference in Fargo. So this year it would be at Radisson Hotel from July 7 to July 10. We generally have a participation from 14 to 15 different countries.
I don't know if you have any handouts with instructions regarding what I'm going to say. Number one, I assume that corporate food farms have computer programs that determine what the soil is lacking and so on, and have the ability to add the proper nutrition to soil. When we get to community gardens and individual gardens, and there's a lot of gardening going on, do you have instructions that would help these people test their soil to determine what is needed before they do the planting?
Yeah, like it's more like the soil science department and at NDSU and also in local, I know the state department have a testing of the soil profile. But the most important is that depending on what is there and what kind of soil, because each native soil have a different nutrient profile or a different microbial profile. The problem with the soil testing is, the traditional soil testing, it's only give you the information of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And many of them will not give you the most important part is the micronutrient or the microorganism what present there, because those are very expensive tests to have a complete profile of microorganism or micronutrient. But that is the most essential part of that soil nutrition or the soil health, because that dictates that the kind of plant. But for the small scale agriculture or the community garden, there are definitely different strategies innovations can be applied, like this vermicompost or the small scale compost we can create, or even in like a silage, or can have this beneficial microorganism packed to in a small scale, like a small fermentation. and can be applied to the plant, which has all come from the very traditional agriculture practices. Whether it's a tea leaf, we use the tea, and you can take out this tea leaf and ferment it in a natural system and can apply it, and there are a lot of this beneficial compound can goes to the soil and can help the plant. So there are different ways to approach, and we can definitely advance. But the testing wise, I would say the most important probably in the future sustainable practice, we have to include this microbial population assessment of soil and micronutrient, which are two are the key elements.
Any additional questions, comments from the commission?
I'll just say thank you very much for your hard work. It's very appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, there's a lot of information there to digest on that, but sounds like a important topic to continue to pursue. So thank you for the presentation, Doctor.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on then to item number 5, which is the Minnesota Green Step Cities Program in Moorhead. Haley Hilfer, City of Moorhead.
All right, so I'll invite Haley, and I think her colleague Scott as well will be joining us. Haley is the Sustainability Manager with Moorhead Public Works, and Scott will have to introduce himself, but I believe you work for Clay County.
Yep.
And they will be sharing about the Green Step Cities program, which both Moorhead is a part of this program, and most recently, Dilworth has begun participation in the program as well. All right, so take it away, Haley and Scott.
Hello, how are you guys doing today?
Great. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is like my second presentation with a microphone ever, so I'm just really excited about it. Like Noelle said, I'm Haley. I work for the City of Moorhead. I'm the Sustainability Manager. I work a lot on recycling, but I also spend a lot of time working on Minnesota Green Step Cities, which is what Scott and I are here to talk to you about today.
Yep, I'm a Minnesota Green Corps member serving with Clay County Public Health. So I've been working with Haley over the last couple months on Minnesota Green Steps. So yeah.
Perfect. So I'll start out by talking a little bit about what Minnesota Green Step Cities is. First off, it is an action-oriented and completely voluntary, free of charge program that any city in Minnesota can take part in. And it basically is a framework that provides leadership and action roles to people in the government as well as people in the community for them to move forward with sustainable development initiatives. So it has 3 primary focuses. First off is cost savings. Second is civic innovation. And third is energy reduction. And so you'll see all of these in all of the best practices, which is what we'll go into in a little bit. Another way I like to explain why this is important, this is what I call my Minnesota Green Step Cities dream world. And yeah, so this is basically what Green Step Cities tries to promote, or this is like a model. So they promote green buildings, renewable energy, walkable and bikeable communities, transportation, or green transportation, local food, which is what you guys are a big part of, and clean air and water. And then also promoting and moving in sustainable jobs and other jobs. When you create new buildings and stuff like that, or you have development projects, a lot of times you can bring in businesses that will create jobs. Do you want to go on this one?
So Moorhead and Dilworth now have both joined. We should get another green dot on there by Moorhead.
Yeah,
but yeah, so Moorhead and Dilworth have joined this Green Step Coalition, which is over 125 cities. Which is really cool to see because basically, you know, it starts at local governments. It doesn't start statewide. So states helping all these cities and giving them a nice initiative that they take part in, and they get free, basically advice and a lot of help with programs like B3 benchmarking and other such programs, so they can start, you know, taking it one step at a time and start becoming more sustainable, which is really cool. So Moorhead's right now on step 2, and Haley and I were given the task of getting them to step 3, which we have been working on and basically have finished. We just need them to review. So as you can see, Dilworth just became step 1 by building community interest and signing a pledge to do the Green Steps program. And then Moorhead already got recognized for implementing 8 best practices at their own pace, and then we were in the process of doing the 8 high impact practices, which was a little tougher than just the first 8. You can do just 8 of them. It was involved some tricky ones like the B3 benchmarking, which was getting all the Moorhead city buildings, energy and gas and water all tracked so they can see how they can improve. And we did other such practices, which we'll talk about later. And then once we get done with that, hopefully we can help Moorhead get to step 4 and get to step 5, which is continuing on, basically proving that you're continuing on becoming sustainable. So it's just showing your improvement. So there's, so this is a bit in the weeds of Green Step Cities, but there's 28 best practices and 5 different categories. So first category is buildings and lightings, second land use, transportation, environmental management, and community and economic development. So obviously within that 5 even, there's a huge diversity because Green Steps is involved in anything from quality of life, local food, even retrofitting buildings. So there's a lot of area to grow, but then even little improvement you can track, which is what's really nice about the program.
Perfect. So underneath all of those 5 categories, there are a number of best practices. So as you can see, in buildings and lighting, there's 5 best practices, or in any of these, there's a number of best practices. And all of these best practices can be broken down into best practice actions. So if you take, like, for example, best practice complete green streets under transportation, it has a list of these actions that you can take. And so we have a couple examples of what Moorhead has done and what falls under Minnesota Green Step Cities. And Scott and I have just basically, Moorhead has done a lot of really good work. I just don't think it's been all in one place. So I think we were pretty close to being at a step 3 already. And being to a step 4, that's going to force us to make improvements and work on some new projects that haven't already been done. But these are ones that have already been done. The first one is Center Avenue.
Yeah, so obviously you all probably know, but Center Avenue is about to do a big retrofit, and we get to brag about it because they're about to get green complete streets, and we'll basically be able to show what they've been doing, and we'll get to track it down. You saw it in the best practice actions, so we basically just write what Moorhead's been doing and prove it, and it shows up, and Moorhead gets to take another step.
And then after you report it, I should mention this, after you report the action, you get a star rating. So based on how well you implemented the action, Green Steps will give you a star rating, so you can even improve your actions that you've already implemented even further. And so another one is parks and trails. Right now we have the Moorhead River Corridor Master Plan, so that's just going to increase access to the river and also some biking trails along the river as well. And another one is, another best practice focuses on renewable energy. So remove barriers to encourage installation of renewable energy generation capacity. And Moorhead Public Service has done pretty well on this. Actually, most of their energy is renewable. They use 51% hydro. And then they also have the Capture the Energy program going on right now, which is with the solar panels and the wind turbines that you'll see in North Moorhead. And another one is local air quality. So we have installed in Moorhead a fast charging station for people to stop and charge their electric cars. It's right by Starbucks. So pretty neat. It's like the only one in a large stretch, I think, between Montana and North Dakota. And then green business development. This one is pretty versatile. I did a lot of work investigating brownfield remediation projects, which are basically environmentally, or sites that have a lot of environmental toxins and have to be remediated before they are safe to have development on. And Moorhead has a grant to do a lot of these assessments, and so I've done a lot of investigation into the projects that have happened because of brownfield remediation and redevelopment. And so the Block E project on 8th Street in Maine, that's one of them. It used to be an old Tesoro gas station, so it had a lot of, petroleum toxins and stuff like that. Another really big one is the Kassenborg Block. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Rustica or Moxie Java or anything across the street. That was all a really, really big brownfield project. They had to do a lot of soil removal in order to build on the site. And they reused an old building. So yeah, now it's the Kassenborg Block and Moxie Java. And then in the future, we're working on developing a sustainable purchasing policy for city employees. And so they have to think about, how, when they buy a product, where it came from, what they do with it, and then, where it ends up eventually. B3 benchmarking, Scott's talked a little bit about this. We've started tracking water and energy data for all city facilities, and so now we can make we can start pursuing goals for renewable energy and stuff like that, and then see, hopefully, a measurable impact in energy use reduction. It looks kind of like this. And then, since we're here, this is kind of text heavy, sorry. But Best Practice 27, this is one of them that focuses solely on local food, local food production. And so these are some of the actions underneath that. So incorporating working landscapes into the city by adopting ordinances. I think you guys have done some work with chickens in Fargo, Moorhead, maybe? I'm not sure. You'll have to chat with me afterwards. Or facilitate creation of home community gardens, chicken and beekeeping, and food grain areas in residential developments. Create, assist with, and promote local food production and distribution within the city, and measurably increase institutional buying and sales through groceries and restaurants. So these are kind of some of the things that we are looking to pursue projects in the future and could be reported through Green Step Cities. So yeah, this is our contact information. If you guys have any ideas for projects or something that we could help out with, that's awesome, because I like facilitating some of these projects and making those connections. I'm gonna be leaving my position in April, but there's a new girl coming on, Julia, and she works at the co-op right now, so she's really interested in local food production. So she'll be a really good person to work with. Do you guys have any questions?
Sarah.
Thank you. Haley and Scott, great information. I love the Green Step Cities and what it represents, and I wasn't even aware of all of the work that you've been doing, so great job being champions and unifying all the things that make our community Moorhead proud. One thing that I would suggest is our Metro Food Plan. I see you had cited the River Corridor Study, and it's great to have that basis of research and information. It could be possible to include the Metro Food Plan, which was, you were talking about some of the community gardening, beekeeping, things like that. I know I've suggested that we have that present to the Moorhead City Council too, so we could make some movement on some of those things too. And now with Dilworth coming on Green Steps too, it'd be great to maybe, collectively work towards some of those pieces as well. So that would be my suggestion, is seeing if you can add that study to help boost the efforts that you've already documented.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. And it's nice just to, even if it's, not towards our step 3 right now, it's perfect just to have it all in one place so we know where we're at, because a lot of times I don't know a lot of these things, so perfect. Yeah, I'll look into it.
Yeah, great work.
Vern.
Yeah, I think that your best practices seem so reasonable and practical, and I'm happy that you haven't recommended doing away with air travel and hamburgers.
No more hamburgers.
Any additional,
on that comment, maybe we could all just eat a few less hamburgers. But my question is, being on the North Dakota side, are there any Green Steps programs on this side of the river?
Not that I'm aware of. I've had that question a couple times, but this is solely a Minnesota program right now. I'm not sure if there's any other states that have similar frameworks. I'm pretty sure they do, but I don't know. You could work on creating
I could, if people would look into, maybe there's a legislator that would be interested in promoting something like this that we could communicate with.
Yeah.
Do you have a website with your steps?
Yes. Yeah. If you can Google Green Steps and search a city.
Okay.
So that's the easiest way to get a hold of it. Otherwise, I can get you a website too.
I like your work, so I'll be looking into it.
Awesome.
Any additional questions, comments? Okay, very good. Thank you for the information. We appreciate your
Yeah, thank you guys. Also, the City Hall is amazing.
Okay, we're on to item number 6. It's a recap, Farming for the Future, Cultivating Resilience in a Changing Climate. Noel again.
Stuck with me a lot today. Well, I just want to thank Haley and Scott again for the great presentation. I think DePayan's presentation gave us a really nice overview of the issues, and they provided some kind of local context around practical actions that we can take, as you cited, Vern. So we just wanted to share, from what I hear, it was a really great event that happened a couple of weeks ago. And unfortunately, the organizers are attending a food safety training that's happening in Moorhead today. So they were not able to be with us. But if there was anybody who did attend the Farming for the Future event and would like to share a reflection after we watch this video, I would invite you to do so. So just maybe think about what you might want to say if that applies to you. And if no one has any additional comments, then we will just watch the video.
As part of its efforts to create a closer relationship between the public and farmers, a local agriculture group hosts its first Farming for the Future panel. Farms, or the Foundation for Agriculture and Rural Resource Management and Sustainability, had 4 farmers speak at the panel. One of the key points of discussion includes the yearly challenges farmers face with the weather and the environment on their crops and livestock. Organizers say having all the farmers come together for the panel helps them to come up with a solution sooner.
All of our programming, we try to feature farmers as the educators, because there's nothing like a farmer who's actually tried something, put it into practice in his own business, to give another farmer confidence that this is something that would work or something that they can see as viable for their own business as well.
Farms pairs farming mentors with interns who are interested in learning more about sustainable farming practices.
Great, short and sweet. So as we are thinking about this issue of sustainability, it's really important for us to keep in mind how these issues play out on the land and are affecting farmers. So if there was anyone else who attended the event and would like to share a recap, this is your opportunity.
Comments? Apparently not.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you for the presentation. All right, we've reached item number 7 here, which is the public comment opportunity. Is there anyone that'd like to speak? They step up to the podium if you'd like. All right, we do have someone. Good. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Barb Villella, and I'm with the Prairie Roots Community Fund. I gave everyone a little rock card when I came in today. We are the nonprofit branch of the Prairie Roots Food Co-op. I saw 2 presentations today that mentioned Prairie Roots, so thank you very much to our we call them cultivators. So we have a few things that were in the works right now. Thank you to the City of Fargo, who approved our land at Madison Elementary School. We work specifically in Census Tract 6, which is the food desert directly adjacent to Madison Elementary School. It's also called the Golden Ridge neighborhood. So we recently got approval for that land at Madison. This last Saturday was supposed to be our Skate on the Garden party. There was a blizzard. This Saturday, depending on what happens today and tomorrow, was our rescheduled day. But basically, we're trying to kind of get people excited, thinking spring, and also do a little community engagement with that. So we're going to do free hot cocoa and skate on our garden, which is really cool. So in the winter, our garden will be an ice rink. In the summer, it will be a beautiful community garden with very similar to the Growing Together community garden model. Jack Wood has been instrumental in helping us. Jen Walla, who is our gardening specialist, has worked with him as a leader on their garden. And so that garden will start this spring. And we're always looking for anyone that wants to help out. I am not a gardener, but I am learning. Last summer was my first time out with Jack and his community garden, so that was pretty fun. But we're building that up. Another piece to increasing food access, which is the entire mission of our program. So Prairie Roots Community Fund started our nonprofit with the thought of improving social justice by reducing food insecurity, specifically the food desert. So nobody's in that area right now, so that's kind of where we came in. So we do that by our community garden. Secondly, anyone that shops at the co-op can round up their purchase at the end to go into the community garden donations. What we do is anyone that's on SNAP that comes into Prairie Roots and spends $10 gets a free $10 a week in fresh, frozen, or canned fruits and vegetables. That's expanding food access. It equals $40 a month, which families have been starting to utilize, which has been really great. We started kind of only getting like one SNAP customer like a week to now we get at least one a day, which is really cool. Hopefully we'll continue to build that program up, and I'm in charge of development, so that's kind of, I come to the meetings and just kind of get the word out about that too. So we do our community garden, our double SNAP bucks, also community education. Every Thursday at Madison School, we do Eat Well, Be Well class. So we have families coming in, and we do some sort of heart healthy. Aramark, which is the American Heart Association, has this really cool program called Healthy for Life. So we do that for free. Families come in and we cook a recipe that's heart healthy. Last week it was mashed cauliflower, and then we also did cauliflower rice. It was really fun. Kids tried garlic for the first time, just raw garlic. It was pretty fun. But I'm obsessed with garlic, so some people can vouch for me. So we do that, and that's really fun. We also do engage that way too. They're cutting, they're mincing, they have their own cutting boards, we have hot pots, we cook it right there and then we eat it at the end, and it's actually really super fun. And then we spread the word about whatever else we're doing, skating on the garden, so that's every Thursday. This week is spring break, so we don't have them, but next Thursday, they're free. People sign up online with Eventbrite and just kind of reserve their spots so we know how much to make. And then we also, Golden Ridge Community Center, which is the Lutheran church there, but they also have a native church there called The Way. So we partner with them as well, and they have a community dinner the first Wednesday of every month. So it got canceled last month because of weather. It's supposed to be tonight. Free curry, but you don't have to register to come to that. So that's once a month. Hopefully that will happen tonight, but we'll see how the weather goes. But we also partner with them, and we do bingo there, and we give away prizes, and it's just a really fun way to engage the neighborhood that way. Another place that we do community events is at the co-op. We have a community room there, and we had Noreen Thomas came in and did a oats class last month. Coming up on April 11th is an herbs class. We're partnering with lots of local growers in the community and other community members. We're going to make some t-shirts with the Girl Scouts here coming up. We also have Good Samaritan Retirement Home bringing their residents in, and we're going to engage that too. So we're increasing food access to not just elementary schools, not just students, but also all ages of community, because as we know, food access is an issue for everyone, including myself. I've had food insecurity issues myself, and so I'm a volunteer. I'm an AmeriCorps Vista, which means I'm a volunteer in service to America. So we don't get paid for doing this work. We're basically there in poverty situations to advance our mission of increasing food access. So lots of really good things going on. We've made lots of really great partnerships. I am so excited that we made it to 2 of the presentations today. That is so cool, and I wrote it in my notes, and I'm exclamation pointing all over the place. So if you know anyone that would like to help partner with us as well, culinary schools, we're really looking to engage some people that have a little bit more skills than I do in the kitchen. But anyone that wants to volunteer, we're always looking for help with our gardening or our SNAP bucks or partners with just coming out, and we canvass the neighborhood and we hand out our flyers. Just to get people engaged. And we found that particular neighborhood has people come out and then they disappear. And so the trust level in the neighborhood is low. So we're building that trust again for that Madison neighborhood. So that's been really cool to see that slowly we're growing, and that's been really cool to see. So yeah, with that, I'll take any questions if you have any, but the rack card that I gave you today shows a little bit about what we're doing. There's also a coupon to the co-op on there. Just shopping at the co-op help our social justice mission. So there's a little $5 coupon on there. Just bring that into the co-op. Anyone that wants it in the audience that I missed can have one too. But food is a passion of mine, and I really want to make sure that we increase food access to everyone because it's so important.
Good, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Sounds like you're doing some great outreach.
Yes, thank you very much. Oh, I have one question. Sorry. So I have also community members that are reaching out to me. There's a couple food pantries in town, some smaller ones. I don't want to call them out by name. I could if you'd like to know afterwards, but I just don't want to call them out. They're changing their hours, and so people will get to the food pantry, and we actually also facilitate rides to the places too. So we'll get to the pantry and see the hours are changed. Or last Friday we went to a specific one that kind of repurposes some waste. It was closed unexpectedly with a sign. Are there any proper channels that I should go through? I mean, I've reached out to them directly to ask, but is there anything else you can think of that I should be doing to kind of find out? We're so excited that places are providing this food to people, and we're absolutely, not trying to make anybody feel bad on that. But I've been struggling kind of getting, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. I just want to make sure that if we have resources available and we're spreading the word that these are resources, when we have people that are going there and they're not there, is there something else I should be doing as a engagement coordinator for the community other than just reaching out to that organization?
I can take that one. So if they're a partner of the Great Plains Food Bank as one of the local food pantries, we encourage a lot of those food pantries to give as much advance notice as possible of any time changes that they might have to their hours. If it's due to, an unexpected circumstance, of course, that changes, if it's weather or something happens of staffing. But we try to, so as long as they're sending us updates, we get that updated as quickly as possible as we can on our website, where we have our full list of who those food pantries are. We're constantly in encouragement with those local pantries and partners, whether it's Soup Kitchen or to make sure that they're giving as much advance notice as possible of what those hour changes are, and then we work directly with them to talk about the impact it has on the communities and the impact it has on the clients they serve to make sure it's the best to fit their needs, the needs of those that they're serving. And so so I always encourage, if there's ever something that you guys see, that if you see something come up, reaching out to us at the food bank, whether it's myself or we have a new staff person that works directly with our pantries, and we can have those conversations because we don't always know right away unless we hear it from someone else. So we appreciate the feedback as well.
I'll reach out to you after this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, I guess we'll move on to our closing comments. Are there anyone on the commission or the steering committee that'd like to present a closing comment?
Well, since we reviewed the community gardens as a possible means of helping people with hunger, a week from tomorrow at Olivet Church is a potluck in which people can sign up for one of the various community gardens that Growing Together runs. It starts at about 5:30 when you can bring your food and just find a place to sit. But that would be an opportunity for people to be with their work, and they get a free portion each week that they come and work in the garden that they sign up for. The gardens do fill up, specific gardens do fill up, and others really have needs. So we really encourage people to come out, get to meet your neighbors. If you don't want to bring the food home yourself, you can donate it to one of our food pantries. You can donate it to some of the families, because some of them are large families that attend those gardens. If you're looking for information on it, you could go to Facebook and go to Growing Together. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Any other comments? Vern?
This is my first meeting, and I'd like to summarize it by saying I'm real happy over the enthusiasm and dedication that I've heard today from so many people that are dedicated to improving the health of individuals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vern. All right, the next First Fridays event is on April 5th. I trust that's still in Moorhead?
Correct, still at Theater B.
Okay, so mark your calendars, April 5th, and our next meeting is on May 8th, 2019, and maybe spring will be here by then. So, I guess other than that, I'd ask, I guess I'll just say we're adjourning because we're done. So, thank you very much, everyone, for your participation and your attendance. So, we'll see you soon. Thank you.